Hi Internet people. I wanted to make a video to go over all of the equipment that I'm going to be taking with me on the Appalachian Trail here in 2016. Today's like March 28th, day after Easter, and I'll be starting my hike next Monday on April 4th. So let me show you what kind of gear I have. So this here is everything. All of it. I'll start with the pack. So I decided to go with an Osprey Exos pack. I thought about using a lighter pack, but I like having a frame because that's just what I'm familiar with. Sleep system. So I'm going to be using an Enlightened Equipment quilt. It's a down quilt, good to 20 degrees. It has a zipper and straps in the back, which kind of make it into the form of a sleeping bag. It weighs about 20 ounces, so it's pretty light. Oh, I forgot to mention my pack. That comes out at a little bit over 2 pounds. I took off some additional, some optional, the optional top pouch. I took that off, so it weighs somewhere around 2 pounds. Sleeping bag weighs around 20 ounces, so I was able to keep those pretty light. For a sleeping pad, I'll be using a Thermarest Z-Lite. I don't know much about those, but it works, and I'm cool with it. In addition to my sleeping bag, my quilt I should say, and my sleeping pad, I'm going to be using a sheet of Reflectex insulation. So it's basically just like aluminized bubble wrap. It reflects infrared radiation really well, and I'm going to be using it inside my quilt, in between my back and the ground, to try and make up for the lack of fabric over the back of my quilt. My shoes. So I'll be using a pair of trusty Merrell trail gloves. I run in these all the time. Some people have criticized me for wanting to hike in these because they're so thin, but I run in them so much. I've run marathons, ultra marathons in them. I wouldn't trust any other shoe. Alright, clothing. So I'm going to be taking a Patagonia down jacket with me, and that's just in supplement to my quilt, in case it does get colder than 20 degrees. Plus I figure it would be nice to wear around camp. For rain gear, I'll be using Marmot Precip rain pants and a Marmot Precip rain jacket. In case it gets super wet, I'll have with me some contractor's garbage bags. Those will be dual purpose. I can use them inside my pack as waterproofing. I won't have a pack cover. I'll just keep everything inside of them. And yeah, if it gets bad enough, I can use them like a poncho. For a shelter, I have a Six Moon Designs, what is it? Skyscape Trekker. I'm not going to take it out of here and put it together because that would take too much time. But this is just to show how small it is. It weighs like 23 ounces. I've used it a couple of times, and my only criticism of it is that if you don't take care to ventilate it, then condensation tends to build up on the inside of the tent, which I guess is the case with all small backpacking tents. So I think that's just me being new to using the gear, not really a genuine criticism. The rest of my clothes. Socks. Socks. I have 3 pairs of socks. 2 pairs of smart wool socks, which I'll use for doing all my hiking, and a pair of really cozy green wool socks, which I'll use for sleeping. These are probably my favorite piece of gear. They're very comfy. Bandana. Wool hat. Gaiters. Gloves. Shorts. Synthetic undies. Scarf. Fleece. That's the other gaiter. Another glove. Synthetic shirt. And my base layer. So for a base layer, I'll just be using Under Armour. I'm not going to use wool because, well, it's my preference. Wool is pretty expensive, and I haven't used it before. Plus, I figure it doesn't dry as quickly as synthetic fabrics. And I already had these anyways, so they're very convenient to use. Yes, I will be using a fleece in addition to my down jacket. That's just going to be for use during the day. My down jacket won't work very well if it gets wet, so I can't use it to insulate me while I'm in the rain. I'll probably keep it in my pack most of the time and only take it out when I get to camp. So the intention of carrying a fleece additionally is so that I can get it sweaty and dirty and wet, and it won't really matter. Alright, the rest of my equipment. Got a pair of trekking poles. I don't really know much about them. I got them on sale at REI. They're pretty light. They're like 11 ounces, both of them. They're also required for my tent. I've never used trekking poles before. Really, the only reason I'm using them is because my tent will require them as tent poles. But they're pretty cool, and I'll try and enjoy them as much as I can. Other stuff. This is my event stuff sack. It's basically waterproof material made into a stuff sack. That's what I'll be keeping all of my down stuff in. And my socks. I mustn't forget my sleeping socks. Probably the most important piece of gear I have. I've got some really ugly looking aluminum tent stakes, but I think they'll do the job. Got a spreader bar for my tent. Paracord. Who doesn't need more rope? For hydration, I'll just be using plain old plastic water bottles and Aquamira drops. Thought about using a life straw, but life straws are, I think they're a pain in the butt, because if you drink cold water through them, not only do you have to suck really hard, but you also have to risk getting a brain freeze. I'd rather just put the drops in the bottle and like keep them close to my body to warm them up and then drink them. No brain freeze that way. Got a headlamp, credit card knife, sunglasses, my AT guidebook. Some people ask me, how will I find my way on the trail? I'll follow the white blazes. The entire trail is marked with white blazes. And I'll follow this. So it describes along the entire trail the elevation, landmarks, where water is, where I can buy food. There are maps of towns. This is most of what I'll need to survive. This is my first aid kit and other accessories. It's got all kinds of cool stuff in it, like a toothbrush and toothpaste, sewing kit, a spare headlamp. I think a headlamp is the only thing I'm going to take two of. And it's also got a spare cell phone battery, very important. And I guess the contents of the first aid kit, I decided to keep it practical and put like cold medicine in there, Pepto-Bismol, Imodium, things that I figure I could use on a day-to-day basis. Last but not least, I have my cooking system. So, I'm going to be taking a couple lighters with me. And my cooking system consists of a pot cozy, which is also made of that Reflectex material, aluminum bubble wrap, and my kettle. So the way this will work is, actually I can store these all together really conveniently, just like this. This is not my own innovation. Lots of other people have done this, but not everyone's a hiker, so they haven't seen this before. That's my cooking system, all in one small little space. So what I'll do to use it is I'll just take the pot out of the pot cozy, open it up. Inside, I have an alcohol stove made out of an aluminum bottle. I made it myself. I think it burns kind of hot. It makes a really big flame, and it might burn more fuel than it needs to, but it works. So basically what I'll do is I'll pour my alcohol fuel into the burner, light it on fire, then I will insert the pot over the stove and the wind cover like so. Put the top on, wait a little while. Eventually the water comes to a boil. I'll take it off, and I'll have all of my food in a freezer bag, and I'll add the water to the freezer bag. Freezer bag then goes inside the pot cozy. Then I gotta sit and wait again. And after the insulation keeps the water and food so warm that it basically cooks it. And then I have a meal, which I eat out of a freezer bag. And that's everything. So some things I won't be taking. I probably won't be taking toilet paper. I'll improvise. I won't be taking any other knives. I won't be taking a gun. I won't be taking bear spray. If I see a bear, then I'll grin it to death. Yeah, and that's just about everything. So, I hope this is useful. I'm sure when I finish the trail, I'll make another one of these and see what I kept and see what worked, see what didn't work. So yeah, enjoy. Bye. Have a good one.